This is the Ballin' Out Podcast, your weekly breakdown of Red Raider basketball from Double T 97.3 and Double T Sports Network.com.
Welcome in another episode, and it is time to look at the NCAA tournament. I'm all jacked up because it's March Madness. I'm excited. Rob Breaux's excited. I'm Clint Scott. Today we've got a fun one for you. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, just real quick, the Big 12 tournament happened.
It did happen.
You had a great showing against Baylor.
First half.
That's a good point. Where you were 12 of 19 behind the arc, looked like you couldn't miss, and then in the second half, looked like you couldn't make.
Yeah, well.
And then you have some players out in against Arizona, and that felt to me, as we just take a quick peek at that, like, hey, let's just get healthy for the tournament. And you have McMillan, you have Williams sitting out, and you get beat by Arizona. Still put up a good fight. Again, still thought you had a good showing there. And then it was time to buckle up and get ready for the NCAA tournament. Houston ends up winning it, and they are rolling right now. But just as a whole, what did you think of the tournament there, Rob?
I thought Houston would probably win. I picked Iowa State just because Iowa State has some history there in the Big 12 tournament, but no surprise at all for Houston to win. A little bit of a surprise for them to kind of house the last two opponents, especially BYU. And then the Arizona game wasn't really competitive either. Houston is really good. I think if I had to pick a Big 12 team other than Texas Tech to be in the Final Four, it would certainly be Houston.
It's funny you say that. We are going to give our Final Four predictions here today. It's time. We got to put it on film. We got to make sure it's out there and stick to it. Stick to your guns. It's time. 7 Big 12 teams make the field. You have the aforementioned 1 seed Houston, who will take on the 16 seed SIUE. Texas Tech, as the highest 3 seed, will take on the 14 seed UNC Wilmington. Of course, we'll break them down here in just a moment. Another 3 seed Iowa State versus 14 Lipscomb. The big news for them, Keyshawn Gilbert is out for the tournament. That certainly will hurt them. 4 seed Arizona, they'll take on the 13 seed Akron. BYU ends up as a 6 seed. They will take on 11 seed VCU. 7 seed Kansas, their lowest seed since 2000 when they were an 8 seed there, Rob, will take on Calipari's 10-seeded Arkansas Razorbacks. And then finally,
congrats, here's a 7 seed. Here's John Calipari.
And then Rick Pitino on the other side of that part of the bracket.
And
Omaha jumping on trash cans. Yeah. And then your lowest seed, the 9 seed Baylor, who will take on Mississippi State. Just as a whole, lots of things to take from this. There's a big story around North Carolina and Texas getting in. SEC has 14 seeds. Big 12 ends up with 7. West Virginia, odd man out. Lots of stuff that has been hammered on. But what's the biggest storyline to you from the tournament?
I hate it. It's like when an awesome football game happens, and then the whole conversation the day after is what an official did in the final 2 minutes.
Sure.
Hate when that happens. So a little bit of it is I'm a little frustrated because of the field and whatever else. But I think 2 things are true here. The first thing I think that is true is that West Virginia absolutely deserved to be in the field over some of the other teams. And with that, I think there were too many SEC teams involved, especially Texas, who's in the first 4, and Oklahoma, who's an 8 seed or 9 seed, whatever they are. So I think all of that is true. I think what also is true is that West Virginia, I'm going to look right at the camera, West Virginia, just win more, you whiny babies. Because now we have the governor threatening to sue the NCAA. We've got the attorney general up there. And you also have him saying, we probably are just getting banged because we sued you 2 years ago, but here we are suing you again. What's the outcome here? There is no positive outcome for West Virginia to be crying about this. Just go to the CBC or the NIT or don't do any tournament, and DeVries is going to leave you. I understand you're in a rough spot here. I hope DeVries stays, by the way. I understand you're in a rough spot. If Texas Tech was in the same spot and Dustin Burrows and Ken Paxton or whoever else are doing a press conference and Governor Abbott comes out and is talking about it, I would not be happy with that. I would not be happy with that.
Yeah.
And I would want Kirby Hocutt to come out and say something forceful about how Texas Tech got jobbed and they deserve to be the NCAA tournament. But we're going to do whatever else this offseason to make sure we're not in the predicament to leaving it up to the committee next year. We want to be good enough to just get seeded, and we're fighting for a 1-seed international championship next year.
Look, I like the tough thing when you look at this is it is in the hands of a committee.
Yeah.
And yes, they look at the whole body of work. Yes, if I hear new metrics one more time, by the way, I'm going to lose it. Just shut up with that.
Yeah.
You wanted North Carolina in, you put North Carolina in.
Yeah.
Whatever. Again, I'm with you. You don't leave it in the hands of people that as a group are going to make a decision, and you're not truly just going off of numbers. Because when you have a bunch of different metrics, you can pick the one that you like and say, okay, for this case, boy, look at that net for North Carolina. And you go, yeah, well, look at the quad 1 record. But for West Virginia, a lot of times it's what? Like when you're in the most important stretch, what is the last thing you did for me? Yep. And the last thing they did for you was lose to Colorado.
Yep. And
that was what pushed them over the top. I think if you just get out of that game, if you just find a way to beat the 16 seed in the conference, and I get Colorado picked up a couple different wins there, but still, if you just take care of business there, you're probably in.
100%.
That being said, you do have 7 teams in the field. If I gave you BYU, Kansas, Baylor, and Arizona, you know what, I'm even going to take Arizona out. Give me BYU, Kansas, and Baylor. Who has the worst draw of that? Who has the best draw? Because those are, by the numbers, the closest matchups.
We're going first-round draws?
Yeah.
Or like as a tournament?
First-round draws.
I think the worst would be BYU because I think they deserve to be a 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably that's the worst draw, though I do think, that's a popular upset pick with VCU over BYU. I don't think it is a good pick, but people are saying. I think Kansas should beat Arkansas. Coach Cal has a great name, but, what has he done? He's kind of like American Idol, right? Like American Idol has a reputation, but they hadn't been good in 27 years. So I think Coach Cal has some cachet, but they were great in year 1 or year 2 of Kentucky and really haven't done much since. Since what, 2014, 12?
Mm-hmm.
When did they go undefeated and lose in the Final Four? Whenever that was.
Who's the Ruben Studdard of the Big 12?
Somebody who is like a.
Sorry,
I don't know.
You lost me after American Idol, even though it's accurate.
I guess Houston would be Ruben Studdard because he won.
You know what the worst thing that could happen? Maybe not the worst thing because I don't know how people are going to root for this. But
this Kansas would be Kelly Clarkson.
For someone, Kelly Clarkson, someone like me who has openly complained about if you have a losing record in your conference, you should not be in the tournament. And they're like, well, these are all the better teams that you want to see these matchups. No, I had all year to watch these matchups, and I did. I don't want to watch them again in the most special sports tournament of the year. Whatever. If you're going to do that, at least make all of those the first 4 in. Like make those teams that didn't do enough winning play